Today, pets now welcome. Property signs for the 23rd of August 2021. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to this post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. In today's show, we'll look at changes to strata law which will allow pets across New South Wales, how some are seeking to take advantage of this, the latest on property search, and the continued pressure from the industry to abolish stamp duty. But first, changes afoot in terms of strata, as I discussed last Tuesday on our live show with strata lawyer Amanda Farmer. Across New South Wales, it will now be possible and legal to have pets in a strata property. Well, finally Domain caught up, reporting that TV presenter and dog owner Scott McGregor plans to celebrate Tuesday's change in the law about keeping pets in apartments by bringing home a puppy to keep his current illegal miniature fox terrier, Jimmy, company. "I'm looking forward to it," he said, "and the people who run our building have been so busy trying to fight the rights of people to have pets that they haven't even gone to the trouble of putting any rules in place on how to manage them. Now we can have them. They've been so short-sighted about this, even though they knew this was coming." The laws that come into effect this week means that bylaws that unreasonably forbid the keeping of pets in strata buildings will be invalid. That will come from the passing into law of the amendment to the Strata Schemes Management Act about the keeping of pets in apartments. It's hoped it will bring to an end the years of controversy with tribunal rulings, appeals, and then court rulings and appeals between pet lovers and buildings that wanted to ban animals. In August last year, Animal Justice Party member Emma Hurst proposed an amendment to strata laws to stamp out such bans. That was followed by a landmark New South Wales Court of Appeal decision in which dog owner Joe Cooper successfully challenged a blanket no pets bylaw at her Darlinghurst building, Horizon. Following negotiations led by independent MP Alex Greenwich, Hurst's amendment was eventually passed in February by both houses. Lawyer Rebecca Monfarge, a partner with Sachs Geraghty Lawyers, said the new section will mean that bylaws which unreasonably prohibit the keeping of an animal on the lot will have no force or effect. It will be considered reasonable to keep an animal on a lot unless that unreasonably interferes with another resident's use and enjoyment of their lot or the common property. McGregor last year lost his bid to have their pet Jimmy live in their Camperdown City quarter apartment after the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal ruled that, while a no pets bylaw was illegal, its no dogs bylaw was acceptable because it didn't ban all animals. Now, however, that's going to be overturned by the law change. "It is a victory," said McGregor, who owns the Railway Adventures tour company. "We'll be celebrating that. But we do fear the fight isn't over yet. There's still a lot of grey areas over what constitutes unreasonable. Regulations defining such terms will be issued by the Office of the New South Wales Minister for Better Regulation and Innovation, Kevin Anderson, but no one knows yet what they will say. We know that blanket bans on pets will no longer be allowed, but we're nervous about how far the regulations will go and what kind of exceptions they'll allow," said Emma Hurst. "We want to make sure the laws are able to protect pet lovers as well as their companion animals." Alex Greenwich has requested to see the regulations from the Minister with no luck, but my own view is that we worked well together during the negotiations so that appropriate rules will be put in place to facilitate people having companion animals in apartments, he said. One exception to the new apartment to allow animals will be when keeping a pet unreasonably negatively affects other residents, such as, for example, having a dangerous dog. And the strata committees around Sydney scramble to catch up with last year's court ruling that overturned that blanket ban on pets in apartments. A new development in Hurstville is ahead of the pack. Lotus residents doesn't just allow pooches, it welcomes them with open arms, introducing what developer TQM Design and Construct describes as the city's first purpose-built residence dog park. We thought we'd get one step ahead, said Brian Yazbek, portfolio development manager for the developer. We've got a dog wash station, dog barrels that they can run through, dog bridges that they can go over or under, and shade where the parents of dogs can hang out. And there's also talk of incorporating a pet shop, pooch-friendly cafe, and grooming salon in the downstairs retail section, although those plans have yet to be finalised. Yazbek said early interest has come from first home buyers, pet-loving owner-occupiers, and parents purchasing for their children. More broadly, fewer Sydney-siders are pounding the pavements in search of their next home during the city's ongoing lockdown, but inspection numbers have remained relatively high in some pockets. Home inspections in Sydney have dropped by more than a quarter during lockdown, Domain figures show, with the largest decline seen in the city's southwest, where multiple local government areas face tougher restrictions, and the smallest drops in the city's east and outer west. The average number of home inspections in Greater Sydney was down 26% over the 4 weeks till August the 15th, compared to the same time pre-lockdown, amid the city's ongoing stay-at-home orders. While in-person auctions and open home inspections are banned under the orders, pre-booked one-on-one inspections are allowed for those looking for a potential new place of residence in Greater Sydney. The average number of weekly inspections per property had fallen in late June when the Sydney lockdown began, but it's been fairly consistent since, said Nicola Powell, the Chief of Research and Economics at Domain. Activity has even picked up in recent weeks, he said, with average inspections up 6.8% on the previous 4-week period. Inspection numbers in Sydney have dropped by about a quarter since open inspections were banned as part of the lockdown restrictions. Lockdowns don't change decisions, they delay decisions, and for some people it gets to the point where they need to move, Dr. Powell said of the recent uptick. In addition to strong buyer demand, the short supply of homes hitting the market down 11.3% from the previous 4-week period was also supporting the average number of inspections per home, Dr. Powell said. In the city's outer southwest, average inspections per property were down about 40% on pre-lockdown volumes, with half of that decline seen in the past 4 weeks, hitting an absolute low in early August, Dr. Powell said, before rebounding just a little. Activity is also down more than 30% from June levels in the city's northwest, southwest, northern beaches and Ryde regions, and by more than 20% in the city centre and inner south, north shore, inner southwest, inner west, Blacktown and Sutherland regions. By comparison, inspections in the eastern suburbs were down 10.9%, while in-person viewing in the outer west and Blue Mountains fell 11.4%. Dr. Powell said the inspections in the eastern suburbs were still down significantly since the start of the year, but heated competition in the market, which saw the median house price jump more than 26% over the year to June, may have led to less of a decline in lockdown. Nick Pappas, director of Central 21 Eastern Beach Maruba, said inspection numbers had seen a very slight slowdown, while the volume of homes coming on the market in the east and southeast had dropped by at least 20 to 30%. Last week was crazy. We did 54 one-on-one inspections between 3 properties, he said, noting the vast majority of buyers still wanted to do in-person inspections. Only serious sellers were on the market right now, with lockdown deterring anyone looking to test the market, Mr. Pappas said. And the buyers coming through were ready to transact, with many having spent months searching for a home in Sydney's booming market. By comparison, lockdowns have seen inspection numbers more than half for selling agents Blaise Donovic of Blaise Real Estate, based in the Fairfield local government area, where there are the toughest restrictions. However, thanks to fewer browsers and more serious buyers coming through homes, the market is still going strong. Pre-COVID, we were getting 60 to 80 groups coming through properties. Now we're averaging between 20 to 30 groups, but the number of registered bidders we're getting at auction is still at 10, he said. Mr. Jervek said demand was still outweighing the number of homes on the market, but was starting to see some vendors ditch plans to delay their sale as lockdowns drag on. Average inspection numbers in Parramatta are down about 25% since June. While most interest was from locals, out-of-area buyers had still been travelling into the council area to inspect properties, he noted, It was a similar story in the Parramatta region, where inspection numbers are down about 25% on pre-lockdown levels. Inspection numbers are definitely down, but the market is even stronger, said Ray Fayed, Group Principal at Lang & Simmons, Parramatta, Granville and Oatlands. Mr. Fayed said the groups were averaging 9 one-on-one inspections per week for properties going to auction, with about 20 to 30% of prospective buyers requesting virtual inspections. While buyer demand was strong, he noted that average inspections were also being driven by the lower number of homes for sale. Our weeks are chewed up with one-on-one inspections, but the appetite is still there, and we're seeing more serious buyers coming through. And finally, the industry continued to spruik the removal of stamp duty as a further catalyst for property transactions. As reported in Australian Broker, stamp duty in New South Wales is disproportionately burdening first home buyers and should be abolished, according to a leading housing industry body. First home buyers have been heavily subsidised by the federal government of late, and in Victoria, stamp duty was heavily discounted at the lower end of the market to help remove a barrier to help people to get into the property ladder. Stamp duty disproportionately affects first home buyers, a key demographic cohort, which are gradually leaving the market, with experts believing that reforms to the tax could help to bring them back in. The biggest barrier to home ownership is saving to get the deposit. It's not repaying the mortgage, said Tim Reardon, Chief Economist at the Housing Industry Association. The biggest barrier is getting access to finance in the first place, and stamp duty creates an additional significant barrier that households repay over the next 25 years. First home buyers are a group that are adversely affected by stamp duty. The economic-wide benefits of abolishing stamp duty would enable any group that are adversely affected to be compensated. That's a fundamental tax principle. The introduction of GST is a great example of it. There were other industry sectors that were worse off after its introduction, but because it came with such a macro efficiency gain, transaction measures could be put in place for those sectors. The same could be said in terms of the transition away from stamp duty. If the alternative measures were economic losses for individual households, then the benefit to the economy as a whole and to government should be then directed to them to offset and compensate those who are adversely affected. First home buyer activity is slowing due to the impact of home builder in 2020 and 2021, and they would definitely be a beneficiary of stamp duty reform. But stamp duty also leads to an inefficient allocation of land, meaning that households move less frequently than they otherwise would. People stay in homes longer than they should, for example, in the later stages of life, rather than moving closer to family or medical services. People remain in the family home because they don't want to face the additional $20,000 to $40,000 cost from transferring home ownership. Likewise, rather than moving closer to work or moving to seek better employment, stamp duty constrains households from making efficient decisions. New South Wales and Victoria, stamp duty accounts for between 20 and 30% of all state revenues. To tax people out of housing, which is considered a necessity, is quite an inequitable tax. And according to Reardon and the HIA, it isn't just in New South Wales that stamp duty is causing these problems. All stamp duty is inefficient and inequitable, he says. It falls disproportionately on those that have to move homes to seek employment, education or health services. It's also a punitive tax that punishes people who are seeking to find a home. There are far more efficient alternatives that raise revenue without the administrative costs associated with stamp duty. Essentially, all other revenue measures are more efficient than stamp duty. The Henry Tax Review found that the cost of stamp duty is around 75 cents to the dollar, making it a very inefficient tax. That's because it distorts behaviour and leads to inefficient use of land. The interesting case is in the ACT, where they are 8 years into a 20-year plan to abolish stamp duty, which they are replacing with a land tax. That's one of the options that can be pursued. But of course, there are catches. First, the state coffers need a replacement for the $8 billion or so in New South Wales in stamp duty that they've currently grabbed, and the land tax would take years to ramp up. Second, the rate of land tax is open to increases down the track, so there is no certainty about what ongoing obligations will be. And third, ongoing land tax payments would be another drag on cash flow, with income still stalling and likely to remain so for many years. That's another issue. So there is, as they say, no such thing as a free lunch, but of course the industry will go on spruiking like mad. Now, if you're buying your home in Sydney's contentious market, you don't need to stand alone. This is the time you need to have Edwin from Ribbon Property Consultants standing alongside you. Buying a property is both challenging and adversarial. The vendor has a professional on their side. Emotions run high, price discovery and price transparency are hard to find, and then there's the wasted time and financial investments that you make. Edwin understands your needs, so why not engage a licensed professional to stand alongside you? With RPC, you know you have experience, knowledge, and master negotiators looking after your best interests. So shoot Ribbon an email at info@ribbonproperty.com.au, and if you use the promo code DFAWTW/Martin, you can get a 10% discount offer. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.